I wore something nice to college, and my classmates, my friends used to say, "Where did you buy this from? Can I buy it from you?" And it just happened that I bought a watch and somebody picked it up from me, and I quoted a few thousand more and I got it. So I used to say we are building 11 theaters on one floor. That used to like kind of strike a chord. There are a few things that you can do, which is renovate. But when you innovate, there's no limitation. You start with a clean slate and start writing. More than 50% of the malls built in India are ghost malls. They are shut. In Whitefield, we are creating a 500,000 square feet mall with only restaurants. I have a hard sales job and sell them a dream that 1 million people will walk through that door and everybody will turn around and see where's that door. Where are the 1 million people? Currently, there's no roof above their head. Photo album that I have. So if I click on recents, you can only see watches,
Oh my God.
watches. So when I'm doing nothing, that's what I'm doing. I'm watching.
3, 2, 1, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined.
And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work.
Courage is not doing things in the absence of fear. Courage is doing things despite the fear.
Growth comes from consistent action.
And you're realizing, hey, I'm not the only one with these problems.
Welcome, Ali, to the BYOB podcast. Thanks for making the time. We're quite excited. Before we started the recording, one of the things you were telling your team members is 22 years. So I guess my first question is, how does it feel and how have you stayed loyal to the same brand for 22 years? Because we don't hear these stories anymore. So can you tell us a little bit about why you're still where you are?
There is no company, there is no country, there is no brand. It's all people. So there are people behind a company, people behind a country. So I think I'm loyal to the people behind Prestige, if one way to look at it, because I know who they are and I can interact with them, connect with them, understand them, learn from them. But I can't see, touch, hear, feel the company as such. So I think so from that context, it's the people in Prestige Group that kept me there for 22 years.
And can you tell us, let's rewind all the way back. I'd love to know a little bit about how you started off 22 years ago. What were you doing at Prestige Group? And then we'll find out how you made it all the way from wherever you started to CEO of 4 malls.
It's very funny because when I was in college, I was doing my MBA. I was very passionate about fashion, clothing. And I used to dig deeper, like find out what are the fashion trends and very limited options. I'm talking about late 90s. And the brands went there, malls went there. And whatever little bit I could get my hands on, I used to sell because I wore something nice to college. And my classmates, my friends used to say, "Where did you buy this from? Can I buy it from you?" And it just happened that I bought a watch and somebody picked it up from me and I quoted a few thousand more and I got it. So that seemed a good idea. And then I used to buy clothes and I established connections. So I used to wear them and people used to like, and I used to sell it to them, make money, thereby go buy more. So fashion has been there. And whatever project work that I did during my MBA, again, I chose to do it within the fashion brands and clothing brands, and met them, did some internships and so on and so forth. So I chose to, stay connected with that industry. And I was doing my MBA, and Mr. Irfan Razak, our chairman, was a secretary of that educational institution, Alamein Institute of Management Studies. So he used to come there regularly, almost every week.
Wow.
And I used to hear a lot of energy in this gentleman. So it so happened that after my studies, I just approached him. I said, "Sir, I know you and I am a great admirer. I'd like to work for you."
In person, you just walked up to him?
I just walked up. I saw him. I was there. He just came and something just happened and I just went and told him. So he said, "Fine, give me your resume and I will get back to you." So I had a bag, my backpack, and I had a bunch of resumes printed.
Oh, ready to go.
Because we were all looking for jobs. So I said, "Sir, one sec." I pulled out my bag, took out the resume. I gave it to him. He took the resume and said, "I'll get back to you." And he started walking. I said, "That's it. End of story." And then let me continue.
Yeah.
with my search. It was just 2 months since I finished my MBA. So I continued peacefully, and shockingly, next day I get a call from Prestige HR saying that Mr. Muhammad Ali would like to see you, calling from Prestige Group. Come and meet our HR.
Wow.
And I went there. I met this gentleman, and his name is Christopher. I think he's with RMZ Group now. He heads HR there. So he looked at me. He spoke to me, and there he tells me that. You know what? We do many things, residential, commercial, office buildings, so on and so forth. But we have something interesting happening. And I think you would be the right fit because we are looking for somebody like you, a young man. And the opportunity is in the retail division. I said, what retail division? He said, we are building a mall.
Nice.
And I was shocked. I never heard that, somebody was building a mall. I knew of malls, but not so much. But I was shocked because malls, I mean, shopping, brands, I was pleasantly surprised. So I said, sure, I'm interested. So I went through several interviews, and there I was, the second person to join in the mall division, and continued and still there.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. I love that you had your resumes printed out, ready in the bag, ready to go, right? I think it's so funny. It seems like that preparation got you ready for this type of opportunity, right? Which is pretty incredible.
I mean, we were going around doing that
So you were
all the
ready.
time. So yeah.
I guess your first opportunity was to build, was it, I can't remember, was it India's first mall at the time or Bangalore's first mall? Bangalore's for sure, right, at the time?
We have to understand the definition of the word mall because there have been shopping complexes, including Bangalore. But a controlled environment which is not sold to various investors, which is rented to only brands, which has a multiplex, department stores, food courts, restaurants,
Right.
and with a lot of infrastructure, comfort zones for the customers, with a certain vision in mind, a certain mix in mind. That kind of a controlled environment, mall, yes, we were the first.
In India.
In India.
Wow.
There were a few more which opened, maybe just beat us a few months. There was kind of a race going on and people were building. But yeah, mall with all these amenities, we were the first, and yeah, definitely first in Bangalore.
At that time wasn't normal, right? It was completely new in terms of a concept. So what was it like working on something like that within such a large organization?
Very exciting. So we used to meet people and give this presentation about malls and what used to blow people off. Like, I had one, can you say, an idea or a strategy in my bag that I used to pull out every time somebody's not paying attention or not, sounding interested, so on and so forth. So my job was to go to Brigade Road, Commercial Street, meet these brand guys,
Right.
and tell them we are building up a mall in Kormangla. And Kormangla was a village. They were all
Right.
greenery around it. There was nothing. So, and our rentals were, with a revenue share on these concepts people had not heard. So every time I approached them and people were like, retail won't flourish beyond this zone, so on and so forth. So I used to say we are building 11 theaters on one floor. That used to like kind of always strike a chord. But the moment I say that, and people were like, what did you say?
Yeah.
We are building 11 theaters on one floor. It's called a multiplex, and that is the anchor.
Yeah.
And we will play 11 different movies and 11 different screens at any given point in time. And that was an idea which was very original and different. And then I speak about food courts. And then, of course, I have it going. So we had only 77 shops. I think even today, there are only 77 shops in that mall.
Wow.
Forum Kormangla.
You said you were the second person within the team who joined. So how big did the team grow to actually end up establishing the first mall? Was it a big team or small team?
The first mall was just around 35 in-house team, and then we have outsourced team. But 2020, when we decided to dilute our assets and we sold the malls, and so when I was heading it, we had around 1,000 plus people working for us, and a few hundred in-house teams. So 350, 400 in-house. 6 different cities. So
I definitely want to dig into more of the business, but before that, I want to dig in a little bit more into you. So can you tell me a little bit about, so when you started 22 years ago, second person in the team, all the way to now being CEO. I guess one of the questions that comes to my mind is, did you come in just to explore what it looks like, or did you always have this ambition of, I'm going to grow, I'm going to go up in my career, I'm going to, did you always have that sort of burning desire, or did it build along the way?
I always had that burning desire. Why would anybody do MBA unless they have that desire? So we had family business and many things. So I always wanted to do. Corporate world was very intriguing, always sounded very exciting. But you always need a rope. So you need something to get on to. But yeah, I was lucky that it was malls and fashion.
What's the biggest difference, or what are a few things that help you evolve to go from being a team member, playing a role, to finally making the switch to CEO, right? What did it take to make that big jump?
It's got to do with thinking, how you think, how you process information, how you process people, how you process ideas, your own chatter. Yeah, it's all about thinking. So if I have to see myself, I was lucky that I got very good leaders to work with.
Sure.
Right, my first boss, I didn't even meet the chairman for a couple of years. I didn't get to see him. So I was lucky. I started off with some very good people. And Suresh Singaravelu was my first boss. And I was really lucky to have a boss like him. So then I was in Mr. Irfan's cabin, chairman's cabin, within 2 years or 3 years of joining. And I was, that kind of changed my game. And so my thinking changed. And then challenges kept coming. I became a mall GM from leasing. So my job was, for first few years, leasing, bringing in brands, connecting with brands. Then they said, go run a mall. So I ran Forum Koramangala as a mall GM. Then I went to Chennai, opened a mall there, ran a mall there, and then came back. So hence, as I was growing, then COO, then CEO, then VP and COO, CEO. So it is the thinking that keeps changing. And even after becoming CEO now, I think my thinking still keeps changing. I process information very differently than I used to a few months back. There's a lot of learning. Before, I used to assume things. Now I question them, because now I know that it may not be this way. So I think it's a lot to do with thinking. If something has changed, is the way that I think, process information and make decisions.
Just trying to understand the two sides of the coin of being a CEO. So which parts of the job, when you made the transition into being CEO, which parts of the job came very naturally to you and you felt like, okay, I know how to do this? And which parts of the job did you find a little challenging and took a little bit more time to get used to?
You're normally given a certain designation or a responsibility when you're 80-90% ready. So we are already doing that.
Sure.
And in most of the cases, it is given to you because you're already doing it.
Yeah, as a reward for doing it already.
So unless somebody changes a job, then it's a different thing altogether. But since I've stayed in one job or one company, I have had multiple roles within this job. I have played many roles. But so somebody growing within the same organization, so he's already there, he's doing those things, and then, okay, fine, let's call you this.
Let's
now.
formalize it.
So let's formalize it, kind of thing. So one thing that came in naturally to me was taking risks, which I have always done, taking bets, calculated risk, small bets, and making decisions, being decisive, not holding, just take a call, move in, no problem.
The other side of the coin, have you found anything particularly challenging when you started operating like a CEO, whether you had the designation or not, that you've had to consciously sort of get better at?
It was little adventurous because I didn't have a boss above me, though I report to the chairman, but who reviews it, but my decisions are mine. So hence it became a little different. It became a little adventurous. You decide on your own, and sometimes you think and you can't do it because there's a difference in thinking. But this time you can think, execute, and also take responsibility when something doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then so that's something. A lot of adventure has come in.
You talked about a strength of yours being the ability to be decisive, make smaller, bigger bets, take risks. And one of the things, if I've got it right, is a big decision you made in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, amidst the pandemic, to change up the model. I remember I saw one of the presentations you gave, and you said very eloquently you didn't want to renovate, you wanted to innovate, which I thought was beautifully put. So, can you tell us a little bit about what that decision was, and try and give us a little bit of insight about how you come to a decision like that? Because a lot of people listening in are in a position where they're looking to make decisions and they're not sure how to make a particular decision. So if you can walk us through the decision itself and what was going on behind the scenes to come to it, that'd be really insightful.
So it's where you want to be and how do you think you could reach there. And sometimes you think that to reach there, maybe what you have and what you have done may not be relevant. Maybe you have to do things a little differently. And starting off on a clean slate sometimes helps. So this is famous story of Jack Welch when he became the CEO, and why he became one of the most celebrated CEOs of that time was that he took some hard decisions. He sold all the companies which were not number one, number two in market leadership, and then focused only on the companies which either held positions as number one, number two in market position. So we at Prestige Group, of course, it was a board decision. We came to, even before pandemic could hit, nothing to do with pandemic as such, 2019 onwards, we started thinking differently. The vision was to take a leap and take Prestige to the next level, give it wings, which it already has. The Falcon has a wing or has wings, but we started thinking differently. We got into spaces, we got into markets which we were not before. So we were not in Mumbai. Now we are in a very promising position in Mumbai. We have multiple projects happening. We were not in Delhi, but now we have projects in Delhi. We have offices in Delhi. We are in so many cities. So every division we're thinking about how to take that bit, how to go to the next level. So when it comes to malls, we have been building malls, managing malls. So the business of malls is as such that you don't sell anything, you only get rent. And there's no fixed rent as such. So it's a percentage of the total business that you do. So as a mall, collectively, whatever business that the whole mall does, a percentage of that is your EBITDA. So higher that business, higher the EBITDA. So we coined this word called the big billion malls. A billion is 100 crores. So malls that do 100 crores a month. So out of 600 malls in India, only about 20 malls do 100 crores a month.
Right. Okay.
So they are the big billion club malls. So there are 580 malls or maybe more who are not in the big billion club, in spite of being a million in size.
Right.
They are not doing that much business as such. So we want to do that, and we did an analysis of how many malls that we own can do a big billion turnover in the coming years. Now, the answer was not good. So we decided to dilute the assets and then start building from a clean slate, because to achieve that, you need to see malls from a very different context. You need to change the whole framework of the experience mix, the way it is planned. And then there are a few things that you can do, which is renovate. But when you innovate, there's no limitation. You start with a clean slate and start writing. So that is Forum South Bangalore now, which reached a big billion number.
Oh, congratulations.
In 12th month of operation. So we opened December 23, and December 24, we did 108 crores in 1 month. So that's the fastest any mall in India would have reached a big billion. So our dream has kind of come true. And now the job is to go and build 9 more malls, which are all in big billion club, and do 1 billion every month. So yeah, that's the idea, and it's working so far so good.
Yeah, it's very clearly there's no lack of ambition, right? If you want to go from 1 to 10. So is that, firstly, congratulations on hitting that first milestone. That's pretty incredible. And so the 9 more you're talking about, is that the goal for a single year? In this year to get to 9 more?
No.
What's the goal?
So these are under construction, because we sold the assets and started building. So this one open now, and then others are in the pipeline. It'll take a couple of years, but yeah, we'll get there.
A lot of people listening to this are CEOs, decision makers, entrepreneurs, and I think it's really good for them to get an insight into how sometimes you've got to really zoom out, look at it from a different perspective, and sometimes makes the hard calls to start again from a clean slate, right? You said at the start that your loyalty with Prestige is because of the people, the leaders that you were surrounded by. And I'm imagining it was a hard decision to make to dilute the assets at that time. How did you emotionally deal with potentially the other side of making a decision like that? Were there people impacted, teams impacted with that? How did you get through that emotionally? Because I can imagine that type of decision might be emotional as well.
How I managed that was I went and consulted a doctor, and he gave me some stress pills, and I actually had those pills. I'm not joking.
Really? Wow. So high amounts of stress when you're talking through that.
The assets were fine. So we let go of assets. Assets were fine. Assets can be built. But I think what hit me personally was the team, because I was part of creating that team, and they were reporting to me directly, indirectly, and work with people for so many years. There's an emotional connect, and then so suddenly the malls are gone, the team is gone. So I was emotionally affected and had to go through that process. Now started building again. So it'll take time to come to that number, but then fine, no problem. I mean, it's not about the number game anymore. It's about the winning at business.
Sure.
So that winning helps.
Yeah, no, I can imagine I don't think I can imagine a decision like that. That sounds like a really tough decision, but congratulations on making it and getting evidence, that it's heading in the right direction. I'm sure that's big. Can you tell me, I'm now curious to get into the mechanics of the mall business. I think a lot of people listening in as consumers, a lot of us are curious about how different businesses operate. So I'd like to ask you some questions about how the mall business operates. So few things I'm just curious about that I've written down here, right? So you mentioned it a little bit earlier as well in terms of you don't buy stuff, but the brands rent property, but you don't get a fixed rent. Can you go a little bit deeper into how the mall actually makes profit? So when the brand comes in, do they not pay any flat rent? Is it a combination of the two? What's the model? If I was a brand and I wanted to set up at a mall, how would that process work for me?
It all comes with the opportunity that you can believe that you are setting up, and the opportunity that people can believe exists. So there shouldn't be a gap. So if we all believe that the opportunity is there, so there are three stakeholders in this business. One is the developer, who comes first.
Right.
Second is the retailer, who comes second. Third is the customer, who comes last. But in order of importance, the last one is the most important.
Right.
So the developer needs to come up with a vision, and also these are capital intensive businesses. So he comes with an idea, he comes with a promise, he comes with a strategy, which has to be believable by the retail fraternity, because there are too many options. It's a demand and supply rule. So there are too many options for them. So that's the play there. And if they believe in the deliverables, if they believe in the promise, and customer, you won't see them for 5 years, because they will come only when the mall opens. Right now, you have not even started digging. So you need to block a huge amount of capital with the promise from retailers that they would participate in future. So even they get into the business probably in the 4th year of operation, when your structure is completed.
Do they legally sign a contract or something at the start?
Well,
is it just good faith and track record?
So even if it's legally written, it's still a good faith, because all the best to go and make that holdable, accountable. It might be a few decades with a few million cases going around. But yeah, it's all in the belief. Wow. It's all in the word of mouth. So it's your gut feeling. So hence you need to have that kind of capital to hold on with the promise and go on for 4 years. And then hopefully the retailers will still believe you and get on with you, unless somebody else has started making something in the vicinity which you cannot have any control on. Then they say, but while you were building, somebody else is also come up. So hence we are confused. So you're gone. So So it's all about that. So hence you need to believe it. You need to invest it. On 4th year, the retailers get on board. And then after that, regardless of what is said and written in the agreement, though you have all that. What really holds on is the business that they do when the mall opens.
Okay.
So hence, if you really want rent, you need to focus on the third and most important stakeholder, the customers, and how you can drive the business. So there's a certain percentage which is called occupancy cost. So every business model has an occupancy cost. So the electronics have the lowest occupancy cost. They can only pay you in single digit as a percentage of sale because the turnover is very high. They are doing a few crores of business. So I mean, an apparel can pay you 12 to 15%, but Apple, who does 4 crores, 5 crores a month, if he pays you 12%, it's not going to work out. The model doesn't work out like that.
Sure.
So there are different occupancy costs that people can afford to pay. And I promise you, they won't pay more than what is justified occupancy costs the business module allows them to pay. Okay. So you have to understand that. So if you want higher rentals, you can charge from 100 rupees to 1,000 rupees as long as it is justified by the business that comes in. So if you want more rent, you work with them and get in more business, more revenues. And then there are malls which are trading and charging 1,000 rupees a month per square feet per month, 1,500 rupees per square feet per month. We are charging into some. So it all depends on that opportunity that you create. And then once that works, you have an asset for lifetime.
Sure.
Goes on and on, rent keeps increasing, business keeps increasing, inflation, growth, so on, so forth. And yes, it's a very profitable double-digit return on income business model if it works. If it doesn't work, more than 50% of the malls built in India are ghost malls, they are shut.
Okay, sorry, I'm a bit shocked by that number. That's a big number, right?
Yep.
So more than half of them don't work. And so what tends to happen when you say as a ghost mall, people just end up keeping it because they've already invested a bunch in developing it and they're trying to sell it in the background? What's happening with the ghost malls?
There are many things. It's an asset. They're trying to convert it into some other usage, trying to sell. There's Sigma Mall on Cunningham Road.
Oh, yeah.
And there are so many more that are there. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's an asset. So, it definitely can be used. But, yeah, very few have really come back and redone, rebranded, and relaunched. Very, very few. I think it works like that globally.
I also want to talk about, we just talked about, I guess, one end of the spectrum with what's happening on Cunningham Road. But on Brigade Road, you helped, am I right in saying that you were in charge of building the Rex Walk mall as well? And that's a very different type of mall, right? So I actually, until today, in my head, I wouldn't have called it a mall. I just call it Rex and that we're going to Rex to do a bunch of stuff. So can you talk us through the conceptualization of a space like that and what it took to make that happen?
So it's not a mall. We didn't call it a mall. And it's a Rex Walk. So we had this opportunity. See, we are a real estate company. So we are in multiple aspects of real estate. We have hotels, malls, offices, residential, commercial, logistics, you name it, and we are there. So when this opportunity came to us, Brigade Road, Rex Theatre, and the Nilgiris building, so there's so much of history, we've been there. So obviously we couldn't say no to it. So we want to do something different. So we came up with a different kind of positioning. We thought about, firstly, we thought about creating Indian designers destination or a mall. That could have been a mall. We don't have Indian designers in Bangalore. The who's who are there in Hyderabad closest to us, but the Savyasachis and so on and so forth, they're all in Delhi, Bombay, but not in Bangalore. So that was an option where we go and create a designer mall. And then we thought we will create an electronics mall, and finally we chose the F&B route. And it worked out well. So we have 16 restaurants with the cinema, Gold Director's Cut PVR. So
it's a pretty good cinema.
So the ideation was that we wouldn't approach anyone who's already from Bangalore, who's already there in Bangalore. Though we ourselves have so many properties which we are managing and we own and operate in terms of malls and restaurant chains. So we got Fu from Mumbai. We got Kuraku, which is a Japanese entrepreneurs doing business in India. And it was as authentic as Japanese food can get. And then we got in Burma, which is also from Mumbai, Cafe Delhi Heights from Delhi, and so on and so forth. So and some that we have a Korean barbecue place called Homiga, which is again uh, entrepreneurs from that part of the world. So we look for something different, something engaging, and then of course the assortment. So we went deeper and deeper so that you have many more options, and of course create that infrastructure, and then the romance of it, the romance of Brigade Road, cinema, movies, CBD, and so many options in and around that area on MG Road, on Residency Road, the youngsters, the colleges, so many things worked for us. So yeah, so
Should we be expecting more F&B, Rex Walk type spaces? in
many people
Bangalore?
are building that. So of course, I mean, we build one mall and there are 600 malls in India. So
Sure.
I can safely assume that there are many entrepreneurs thinking about creating an FMB, but we are doing something very exciting. In Whitefield, we are creating a 500,000 square feet mall uh, with only restaurants, or predominantly restaurants, but that is amazing. We have 1.2 lakh square feet microbrewery, which is already committed, and then some very interesting concepts and very interesting brands. And if I come to think of it, we are just starting construction now, but I think we are done. We already leased it out.
Wow.
We have enough and more inquiries, and everybody in Rexwalk, with many more who we couldn't have in Rexwalk, have all shown very promising response. And the next forum FMB project in Whitefield will be a amazing project.
We've talked about the different aspects of the projects you've been working on. I'm curious to know what do you enjoy the most of the job you get to do? Like what's your favorite part of the job when you wake up in the morning?
I do many interesting things when I wake up in the morning. One is making tea and having green tea to start the day with. But from the work point of view, what gives me joy is this, that to a large extent, we are all salespeople, we sell. So though we don't sell real estate, we only rent to brands directly, but we still sell a concept, an idea. So I have a hard sales job. So my job is to take people into a construction site, which is a lot of dust, cement, steel, and
Yeah.
workers walking around, a lot of noise, a lot of dust, not a safe environment either. So my job is to take CXOs of top brands to these construction site and sell them a dream that 1 million people will walk through that door, and everybody will turn around and see where's that door, where are the 1 million people. Currently there's no roof above their head. So that's my job. So I start off from there, and I sell, okay, this is an amazing location, this will be your business. What's that business, what you're saying we would do, Mr. Ali? I mean, good if we do it, but very few stores do that business in India. So I said, no, you will do this business, and 1 million people will come, and this will happen, and that will happen, and so on and so forth. So that's how it happens. And the biggest joy is to see it work out and see 1 million people in your mall once it's all open.
Do you go to every mall opening? Make sure you're there day one.
I lived there before the mall opened. I lived there. So we have opened 14 malls so far. So you literally lived there, and to make it open. So yeah, otherwise it won't happen. One day, inshallah, I'll have a job where I'll come on the day of mall opening, and everything would have been done.
And you can just cut the ribbon.
I'll just come to cut the ribbon along with boss.
That's the dream.
That's something that I may achieve one day. But for now, I have to go live there.
We normally have a segment on this podcast we call Jaldi with Jigsaw. So I'm just going to volley a bunch of maybe 5-10 quick questions to you, and you just give me rapid fire answers.
Okay.
What is your superpower as a CEO?
I think it's ability to look into somebody's eyes and give a commitment, and make sure that I follow it up and get it done, not shot up by anybody else. I think that is a powerful aspect.
I just read a book called A CEO Only Does 3 Things. So if you are allowed to only do 3 things this year that you get to focus on as your job, what would those 3 things be?
Well, it could be people to start with. I think that's the most important aspect of any business. Like I said in the beginning, so it's all about people. So I'd like to focus on the people. And second is, I think there has to be an element of creativity which makes a differentiation in us versus the competition. So that's the second thing I'd like to focus on, in adding creativity in everything and anything that we do, so that we do it very differently, which is exciting, which is new, and something which people will enjoy. So creativity would be the second thing. And third thing I would like to focus on would be consistency, because you can have people, the best people, and then you can have a good product which is very creative, but to consistently deliver that over a period of time is a challenge. So how to make it consistent so that people can get the same product, time and again. I think with these three things, I think you can go on a long holiday.
What's the latest show you watched on TV?
Mine is a little complicated. Everybody in my family is scared when I'm watching TV, because I watch a lot of murder mysteries.
Oh God, okay.
And Netflix has some amazing murder mysteries, Scandinavian countries, and so on and so forth. It's that it's so boring, because a story can be so predictable, a movie can be so predictable, but murder mysteries, there's something that
Keeps you on edge, yeah.
keep you on the edge, and something unexpected. So I get lost in that. So I'm kind of trying to find out as though I'm investigating it myself. So I watch a lot of murder mysteries. Actually, the way Netflix is that the moment you open my particular page, and all you
There's
can
just
see
blood
is
everywhere.
scary facade of all these suggestions, and anybody seeing that, I said, my God, what are you planning to do?
Yeah, okay. I'm definitely not getting into your Netflix. I don't watch any scary things. If you weren't doing this, and I know it's tough after 22 years, but if you weren't doing this, what do you think you'd be doing?
I think I'll be speaking. I love teaching. So maybe I'll become a coach like you.
Please.
And I'd like to go to places, to institutions, to colleges, to youngsters, meet people all over the world. And I'd like to share knowledge, probably pick up something. I study psychology. I did some courses on psychology. That's why I asked you about your ICF.
Okay.
I myself am an ACC, I'm on the verge of getting certified. So yeah, I'd like to teach. I'd be speaking in front of an audience and sharing knowledge. It's very inspirational, actually. I enjoy doing that.
Couple of final questions. How do you switch off? How do you relax?
Monthly basis, I ride bikes. So there is this planned bike riding thing that I do, and go distances, adventure bikes. We go to places where normally people can't reach in car, see places which normally people don't go, and then so that's the fun part of it. The ride is amazing. The journey is amazing. You're open air, fresh out, full control. You can't wander off. You can't think about anything else. So the focus. So bike riding is fun. Very close to me. Do that regularly. And watches.
Okay.
So I can't just take off on a bike if I'm sitting in office, or I can't just go off whenever I think so. So watches is something that I switch off. So it's very scary. What do you call this photo album that I have? So if I click on recents, you can only see watches.
Oh my God.
Watches. So I'm just scrolling down. You can see the amount of.
That's crazy.
So I follow watch brands, and I do a lot of research on watches, horology as a science, and that's my favorite time pass. So whenever I get a little time, I go to these sites, I follow a few pages, I follow a few horologists, and I try to learn and follow a few brands, and I see what these brands are doing, what they're coming out with, and so on and so forth. And there are some websites where you can buy watches, sell watches. So
wow,
that's also very engaging. So that keeps me excited. So when I'm doing nothing, that's what I'm doing. I'm watching.
Nice. Final question. If you could say one line to somebody who's just going to become CEO of a company, what's that one line or one bit of advice you'd give them just before they start?
I would advise them not to hear their own chatter, which happens in mind. So we all have this chatter going on. It might tell you things which are not true. So I would tell him, don't listen to it. And give a lot of importance to what is being said, to know something that you don't know, understand what you have not understood, and hear people with genuine intention that really there is something out there that may be vital information in your decision making, which might actually be a game changer. So that is something that I would say, don't listen to your chatter, don't listen to what that tick tick tick, it keeps going on, it tells you no, this, no, this, no. Be very innocent in this approach, and then go out genuinely, understand, because out there is some information which people have and they are telling you as you are there with them, and maybe you're not listening to them because of the chatter.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great note for us to complete this conversation. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Real pleasure.
Thank you.
So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We're Jigsaw Thinking, home of the self-starters. If you're interested in being your own boss, head to jigsawthinking.com or drop us a DM at Jigsaw Thinking on Instagram.